I'm Mike Quackenbush, and this is a giant size till we make it, all about cutting promos. And delivering effective promotional messages is an essential part of the job for every working pro out there, no matter where you ply your trade right now, at the independent level, at the international level, and especially at the corporate level. And as we walk our way through all the information I've compiled for you in today's episode, I want to start in the most obvious of places. Let's define very clearly what is and what is not a promo. Just so we are on the same page, let's start with this. What is a promo? What is a promotional message? It's a piece of marketing content that promotes a brand or a sale. And if you happen to be an independently contracted professional wrestler, chances are you are your own marketing manager. And that means some of the material that you're going to disseminate is promoting your brand. And when it comes to what I think of as true promos, there are three we need to discuss. The first of these is the get-over promo. And a get-over promo is a very one-sided promotional message in that it only develops one character, and it does not speak to conflict nor to motive. Because it only develops one character, it is very much like its in-ring equivalent, an enhancement or squash match. Those types of matches only develop one character, and you might know, although this term has fallen out of fashion, that squash or enhancement matches are sometimes also referred to as a get-over match. Before I dive into this next one, would you take just 1 second, one click of your finger, and leave me a like-a-palooza down below? Thank you for doing that. I appreciate it. Up next on my list is what I refer to as the branding promo. And in a branding promo, you'll cover the same type of material that you would speak about in a get-over promo, but it expands to include information about the upcoming conflict, the name of your opponent, the where, the when, etc., and it must speak to motivation. In other words, it answers the question, why? Why am I in this match? Why is it important to me to win this fight? Why am I struggling against this opponent? It speaks to your character's motivation. And this can be a little tricky, but it strikes a powerful emotional chord with the listener. A true branding promo must answer the question, why? This next one is really powerful, so listen carefully. When you are trying to compel a sale, the sale of a ticket to an event, of a pay-per-view or premium event, a subscription to a streaming service, some piece of merchandise, etc., then what you need there is a money promo. And this is different from a get-over promo or a branding promo in that you are asking for an investment of something from the audience. You want them to invest a certain currency in the thing that you are talking about. And I think it's important to acknowledge this. Yes, of course, money is a currency. But in the current era of professional wrestling, the social media era, so too is attention. Because attention is finite in supply and it is very valuable. And if you want people to spend their attention or their money on you, what you need is a money promo. Over the last 20 years, the pro wrestling vernacular has expanded to include other types of content, usually delivered on the microphone, and now refers to them as promos. But in the true sense of what a promotional message is designed to do, I don't think they really rise to fit that meaning. So having said as much, what isn't a promo? A recapping of past events which does not explain character's motive is not a promo. Explaining what is coming dead ahead, again, without explaining motive or doing any further character development, that isn't a promo either. Something that became very in vogue during the Attitude Era of WWE television is the funny monologue. Someone standing in the ring and just being entertaining for a few minutes while they're speaking on the microphone, but they aren't building toward a sale, nor are they explaining character motivation. I don't think that's a promo either. Furthermore, most vignettes don't rise to meet the definition of a promo either. They might reveal some characteristics of a particular persona, but they're not really doing branding work. So even if they are character-centric, most vignettes, in my opinion, don't rise to the definition of a promo. Nor do skits. Unlike vignettes, skits move the plot rather than do character work. But I don't think most backstage skits, although an essential part of wrestling's multimedia presentation, rise to the definition of a promotional message. And the last of these I want to call out, and it is not a promo either, is when someone speaks on the microphone to relay an anecdote to the audience as an excuse or a build-up to saying their catchphrase. When it doesn't do the work of a branding promo, the work of a money promo, and it's only there so that we can hear somebody say their popular catchphrase, I don't think that's a promotional message either. One of the types of promotional messages you just heard me detail is called a money promo. And learning to cut those is exceptionally valuable, especially right now in pro wrestling. And so to help with that, I went digging back into my archives and I found you this. A money promo is something which compels either a sale or an investment. It compels the listener to buy a ticket to see you wrestle. It compels the listener to buy a subscription service. It compels the listener to buy a live stream or pay-per-view, etc. It compels some kind of investment. And here's 5 reasons why you need to learn to cut money promos. This first one is also the most obvious. The more tickets you sell, the more people you get to perform in front of. And let's be real about it. There's only so much merchandise you can move when you're wrestling in front of 20 people. You're gonna move a whole lot more merch when you're wrestling in front of 200. You're gonna move even more when you're performing in front of 2,000 people. In addition to which, the more tickets sold, the more money is coming into the promotion. So if at the top of the next season, you want to sit down with the promoter and ask for a raise, but the attendance numbers haven't gone up at all since last year, is there suddenly going to be more money going around? Is there more money in the budget if the numbers didn't change? No. There isn't some magic formula there. When the numbers go up, when more money is coming in, then you have the availability to go and ask for a better payday. But if that's not happening, there isn't magically going to be more money in the coffers for you. Put more butts in seats, and you do that by cutting money promos. The second reason you need to learn how to cut money promos is gonna hit you right in the calendar. Wrestlers who can cut money promos have more opportunities coming their way because they're more in demand than wrestlers who cannot. And that's going to mean more opportunities, more bookings, and more stage time if you know how to cut a money promo. This next one often goes overlooked, so pay close attention. Pro wrestlers who can reliably cut money promos are more readily pushed into top spots on the card, because the team behind the scene knows they can handle the talking part of the job. And the harsh reality is, if you can't deliver on the mic, your odds of being pushed up into a featured spot are greatly diminished. More than 95% of the world's professional wrestlers ply their trade at the independent level. So by extension of that, more than 95% of the wrestlers watching this video right now work on the indie circuit. And this one is especially relevant to the indies. That marketplace has become oversaturated with performers who can do the athletic end of the job, but who don't seem to have a clue how to talk people into seats. So learning to cut money promos will set you apart from the masses and distinguish you in a very crowded marketplace. I hope this gives you a greater understanding of just how important this facet of the job really is. And whether you are brand new to the art of cutting promos, or perhaps you've been doing this for quite a little while now, in this next section, I want to detail for you some tips and tricks that are going to help elevate your promo game. Up first, my tips for beginners. So let's start with the basics. You need to say your name 3 times in every promo. And if you're getting up toward 5 times, it's a bit of overkill. 3 is always the magic number in professional wrestling. Don't avoid saying it at the top of your promo with things like, "Hey, it's your boy." No, you need to say your name. And then, at the end, avoid saying something like, "You will remember the name," and then insert your name there. It's a cliche. You want to avoid those cliches while organically building in ways to say your own name 3 times, especially if it's long and complicated. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Alexander Leicester Brinklebottom III. And second for you beginners out there is the Rock Rule. And the Rock Rule says this: the only professional wrestler who gets to refer to themselves in the third person is The Rock Dwayne Johnson. Nobody else gets to do this until The Rock is dead and buried. And I wish you no ill will. Good luck with that XFL thing, Dwayne. But you cannot refer to yourself in the third person. You are immediately invoking The Rock in people's imaginations. And you don't want to automatically put yourself up against one of the strongest promo guys of all time. Up third, if you've got merch with your name on it, wear it in the promo. You want to do as much branding, even in very short promos, as humanly possible. When you're just starting out, so much of the battle is just getting people to remember who you are. Get them to remember your name. And that extra suggestion by wearing your own merch will do a lot of the work for you. There's a reason why this worked so well for this guy. And for this guy. And heaven forbid, it might even sell you a t-shirt. My last tip for you beginners out there is this. Remember that your body language must reflect the message of your promo. We have 3 theatrical tools to use as pro wrestlers: our voice, our facial expressions, and our body language. And it's this last one which often gets neglected in promos, especially when you are just starting out. But you need to pay as much attention to that as what you are saying so that it creates a congruent message. So think about what your body language is saying while you are speaking. Now it is time for us to level up to intermediate. So if you've already been doing this for a while, if those beginner steps are in the rearview mirror for you, let's talk about leveling up your game from here. And remember that your best draft is rarely, if ever, your first draft. Now, every once and again, might you capture something that's both brilliant and spontaneous? Totally possible, but it's rare. Most of the time, your best draft will require iterative work. You will do more than one iteration of the promo. And it is easy in this day and age, when we all have cameras in our phones, in our pockets right now, it's probably what you're watching this video on, to capture early drafts and perfect it. Your first draft is rarely, if ever, your best draft. For me, it's usually draft 3 or 4 is the sweet spot. Don't be afraid to put in a little extra work, refining what you've created so you deliver the very best promo possible. If you want to draw people in as you are speaking, remember this: you need to shift gears in terms of your tempo before you reach the halfway point in your promos. And that might mean when you shift tempos that you're going to start speaking a whole lot quicker than you were before, or it might mean that you're going to downshift and start speaking more slowly. But this will make people pay attention to what you are doing. However, heed this warning. More than 3 gear shifts in terms of tempo in any one promo will seem exhausting to your viewer. This next one is one I struggled with even a decade deep into my career, in part because I never heard it explained in a way that I really fully understood it, and it never really resonated with me. So I'm going to do my best in this breakdown for you. Maybe I can get you over that hump. It took me years to get over, okay? You always want to be building up tension and value, never taking them away. So how do we take away tension? By saying things like this: I know your ringside manager is going to be out there and they're probably going to try to interfere, and I don't care. It won't change things one bit. No, you took tension away. The manager being out there to potentially interfere adds tension to the mix. Don't remove that tension by negating it in your promo, and always add value. Never take it away. When you diminish your opponent by saying, they're a chump, they're a loser, I'm going to beat them, it's so easy because you're a trash wrestler, etc., you're just taking the value away. Instead, you've got to find ways to add value that sound authentic to your character. Okay, beginner level, done. Intermediate level, done. let's talk some veteran tips. You've got to arrive at an emotional gear shift in every promo, and you got to get there organically. It's got to feel true and natural to your character. It cannot seem like you put on a personality shift at the last moment to try and get a little extra juice out of your promo. You know what I mean by that? So if you're going to get angry at the end, the audience has to watch that anger, that frustration, all of that building and building naturally so that by the time you get to that point, it seems earned. Or if you're one of those sinister heels that likes to do a supervillain cackle at the end of your promos, well, something's got to build up to the point that you would laugh like that. Everything needs to seem super amusing to you, including the idea that you might beat me this Saturday inside the steel cage. Do you really think that you can do that? You must be out of your mind, because you know I'm going to be the one that defeats you. And make it seem like it's true to the character. This next one is something that is sorely lacking in a lot of modern promos, so listen carefully. This last one won't surprise you if you've read my book, 7 Keys to Becoming a Better Performer. Before you close your promo, you've got to introduce the element of uncertainty. Serialized pro wrestling is open loop storytelling. It creates an open loop narrative in the mind of the viewer. And that means through the words that you speak and the way that you convey them, you must spark these questions in their mind. What happens next in the story? And how will the story end? That keeps people engaged. So if you make the finish of the match or the outcome of the story a foregone conclusion in the way that you speak, you're closing the loop. And that loop needs to stay open, otherwise people check out. Make sure to introduce an element of uncertainty so people want to watch all the way to the end. As you just heard, trash talking is not part of building up intrigue for a match, amusing though it might be. Instead, we've got to constantly be adding value. We use this as a way to create anticipation and make people want to see us wrestle. Easier said than done, I know, but have no fear, we're going to break it all down right now. It's an absolute mistake to think that trash talking is synonymous with cutting a wrestling promo. And yet, there are working pros out there right now laboring under that mistaken notion, either because they were never trained in the art of cutting a promo or because the actual work of it is too challenging for them, and so they just revert back to whatever is comfortable to them or whatever bad habit they formed years ago. Trash talking is not cutting a promo. So if that isn't what it is, what is the work of cutting a promo? How do we compel someone to spend their attention or spend their money on the wrestling we are making? The real work of a promo is to build your opponent up. They have to become a worthy opponent, a worthy challenger. In the absence of that, interest withers. No one wants to see Superman take on a unicorn piñata. I'm really certain who's going to win that match. It's not going to be very entertaining. I want to see Superman matched against an equal or even greater opponent. That's a challenge that excites the imagination. And in order for that to be the case, you must build up your opponent when you are cutting a promo. You have to articulate their specific value. You know what I mean by that? Are they especially acrobatic? Are they flexible? Are they supremely skillful? Do they have a very dangerous finishing move or perhaps a remarkable physique? Every pro wrestler has to have some value, and you are going to name that value and articulate it as specifically as possible in your promo. And they're all different. Andre the Giant's value, very different from Mystico's value. And that's entirely separate from Carmella's value, which is really quite different from Shingo's value. Each of these have to be explained to the audience. And the more rich the detail you can use when doing it, the more effective your promo becomes. Specificity is king when cutting promos. And I'm going to give you 2 examples just to get you moving in the right direction on this one, okay? So it's great to say that your opponent is strong. That's a fine value to call out. But just saying that they're strong is a little generic. It would be much more effective to say something like this. I watched you squat 580 pounds, and you didn't even break a sweat. Believe me, I understand how powerful you are. Or perhaps you're going up against an opponent whose main value is they are resilient. Well, it's fine to say they are resilient in your promo, but that's also kind of generic, right? It doesn't excite someone's imagination to hear that said aloud. Instead, it would be more effective to say something like this. I hit you 11 times with a steel chair. I watched it tear chunks out of your shoulder, and a red river ran down your back before I was done, and yet you still got back up. In both of those examples, I am putting value on my opponent rather than trash talking them, tearing the value away, tearing away interest in the match. I am always building. I'm building value. I'm building interest. I'm building attention. And especially if you want people to spend their money or their attention on the wrestling you are making in this current era of wrestling, the era we are in right now, the social media era of wrestling, when there is more pro wrestling content being created in a week, in a month, in a year than anyone could possibly consume, you have to grab their attention. And in order to do that, you need to be building interest, never taking it away. So make sure that when you have the microphone, you are building up your opponent. You are never tearing them down. Some, but not all wrestling organizations employ a stickman, someone who can help convey your message clearly to the audience. So let's talk for a moment about this often overlooked but essential role within the wrestling sphere, and specifically how you can leverage the work that they do to deliver promos which are even more resonant. So for starters, who is the stickman? The person conducting an interview or presenter who's going to walk you on by priming the audience for what you're about to tell them and then recaps it after you are gone. And going back to revisit WWF programming from the early to mid 90s made me realize how devalued this role has become in modern wrestling. Stickmen are now sometimes cast for no other reason than their telegenic appearance, not their ability to aid wrestlers in telling their stories. But when you watch the people who did this job masterfully, it becomes immediately apparent how valuable they are in cementing promos and stories in the mind of fans. My coffee-swilling journalism professor in college, Hugh Mannon, taught me this great journalism hack to embolden stories you are telling. And it's made up of just 3 steps, which I'll paraphrase for you now. Step number 1 is you are going to tell them what you're about to tell them. And then step 2 is you tell them. And step 3 is then you tell them what you just told them. That's what you're going to do. But in order for this to all come together beautifully, you need to call on your secret weapon, the stickman. For this to work beautifully, you're going to have to do some of the stickman, the interviewer's work for them. Especially on the day of a live event, they're going to be busy with all kinds of responsibilities. And on a long day of taping promos, they're going to have too much to keep in their heads. So you might write it down for them on an index card, making it easy for them to say what you need them to say. Because step 1 and step 3 of that journalism hack will be delivered by the stickman. Before you even begin speaking, it's going to be the interviewer who tells the audience what you're about to tell them. And then after you're done speaking and you walk off, it is the interviewer who tells them what you just told them. And I'm going to give you an example. First, tell them what you're going to tell them. This first part of the hack is handled for you by the interviewer, by the stickman, even if they are using lines you crafted for them and fed to them in advance. They will prime the audience by telling them what you're about to tell them. And it sounds like this. Fans, in just a moment, I'm going to be speaking with the baby accountant. fresh out of the ring following that violent Caribbean strap match we all just saw against his hated rival, Adam Adams. And he's got something he wants to declare in front of our entire viewing audience. Here he comes now. Second, tell him this part is handled by you, the wrestler. It's already been teed up for you by the interviewer. The stickman has primed the audience, telling them what you're about to tell them. Now it's up to you to tell them the message. And it might sound something like this. That's right, Mean Gene. I finished off my opponent just like I told everyone that I would. Left him in a bloody pile in the center of the ring after that Caribbean strap match. And now that I've had my revenge, I want everybody here watching live, everybody following along at home, to hear these words clearly. I will never face Adam Adams inside the squared circle ever again. This matter between us is at last finished. And third, tell him what you just told him. And this third part is also handled for you by the interviewer. As you walk off, or as you head to the ring, or whatever comes next for your character, it's the stickman doing the recap. Tell him what you just told him, saying something like this. Well, fans, we all just heard it right from the baby accountant's mouth, vowing to never face Adam Adams in the ring ever again. And that makes me wonder, why make this declaration now? Is the baby accountant scared of Adam Adams? I can't wait to see where things go next. Back to you, Bobby and Gorilla. This 3-step hack is such a powerful storytelling technique because it clarifies the story at every opportunity, thus making it easier to remember. By having the stickman tee up the message for you and then delivering it in clear terms, being followed by a recap of that exact same message will make it so much more memorable than the vast majority of other promos out there, and definitely more memorable than ones delivered without this technique. If you watch as much pro wrestling as I do, then you know there are some persistent tropes and some recurring traps that many working pros fall right into when they are cutting promos. And I want you to avoid them all. So how about, let's count down the 5 promo killers right now. Number 5, value beats belts. When you cut promos, are you making this mistake?
I am the unified quantum physics champion of the Lehigh Valley.
To be really clear here, the mistake is not in saying the name of the championship, no matter how ridiculous it might happen to be. The mistake is in thinking that the championship title belt somehow takes the place of your value, and you have to clarify that in every promo that you cut. So what value do you add? Do you add the value of strength, size, speed, skill, something else? You have to articulate that. Saying the name of the title that you hold will never supplant your value. This next one is really powerful and it will level up the effectiveness of your promos immediately. So listen carefully. Number 4, open the loop. I think every chance you have to open a story loop in the mind of the person listening to you is an opportunity you must take. Skipping over that, the chance to get someone involved in the story, is a mistake. So skipping over it sounds like this. Everyone saw what you did to me last weekend. Instead, open the story loop up nice and wide and invite them into the story. It sounds like this. Saturday night, you must have waited for hours, hiding under the ring for the perfect opportunity to attack me from behind. That's what you think revenge is? Here, you've opened the story loop up enough that someone can become invested in what's going on. Number 3, starting in the wrong place. Mistake number 3 is starting in the wrong place. It sounds like this.
This Saturday, March 22nd, it is the St. Patrick's Day Massacre in Barnesville, Pennsylvania at the Barnesville Thunderdome.
It's a mistake to front load all those details. The when, the where, the title of the show, which doesn't sell a single ticket. You know, if you've taken my class, Cut Masterful Promos, we refer to these pieces of information as process pieces, and you cannot lead with them or you're going to lose that viewer. They're going to click away, swipe away, they're gone in a matter of seconds. Instead, you got to hook them with something and then only later on drop in those process pieces. Number 2, unless it's a limo. Don't shoot promos in your car. Just don't. Please. Every single wrestling event out there is competing for customers' disposable income. And we aren't just competing against other wrestling events. We're competing against what movies are opening this weekend at the cinema. Is there a concert in town, a carnival passing through, etc., etc. We're competing for people's entertainment dollars, and you've got to supply some value if you want them to part with that money. So at the very least, find a blank wall. Take the 5 minutes to put your gear on so you look like a professional wrestler before you press record. Number 1, better get specific. Have you ever heard a generic line like this?
And I hope you realize that you've never faced anyone like me before.
May I just say that when I threw it out to my gang that I needed to film some bad promo examples, they showed up and really delivered. It's a mistake to include generic wrestling chatter in your promos. Lines like, "You've never faced anyone like me before," or "I'll show you why I am the ABC wrestling champion," are forgotten before you're even done speaking them. Here is an opportunity to get specific and be more memorable. So if you already know your log line, your differentiating value proposition, and you've got it perfected, drop that in here. It's so much more compelling to say, "You've never faced off against the sadistic submission master before," or "What will you do when you come face to face with a 7'1" athlete?" Or, "Nothing can prepare you for the aerial assault of the highest flyer in all of Southeast Asia." Remember, the generic chatter is forgettable, but specifics are memorable. If you're still with me, you must be getting something out of today's video, or otherwise you've fallen asleep while watching until we make it. But if it's the former of those options, please consider subscribing to my channel so you never miss out on a video. I'm sure you can tell I love me a good countdown, and I recently made this one filled with hacks designed to simplify your promo cutting process. In today's video, other than figuring out my new setup, everything is at an angle now. I want to give you some best practices, tips, and hacks to make cutting promos to support your upcoming appearances several degrees easier. So, let's start with number 1, bake me a dozen. Instead of cutting just one single promo at a time, block off time on your monthly calendar to film them in batches. I want you to shoot a batch of promos all at once. Because if you're going to take the time to set up your ring light, make sure the angles are correct, put your gear on, get into the promo zone, don't put out all that energy and work to just cut one single promo. I want you to batch them instead. Shoot 8 or 10 or 12 at a go. Theoretically, a whole month's worth of your promotional messaging could be created in a single batch. So if you're finding it chore-like to meet your professional obligation to help promote your upcoming appearances and matches, try shifting from shooting a single promo to shooting them in batches, and I think you're going to find it's a whole lot easier to manage.
Number 2, know what sells.
When it comes to cutting effective promos, there are lots of working pros out there who struggle to find the meat of the message. So remember this rule if that happens to be you. Championships and finishing moves don't sell tickets. Championships are props in a story. Finishing moves are plot points in a story. But these two things, they are never the story itself. It's interpersonal conflict that sells tickets. It's those kinds of stories that get people invested in our matches, like Wrestler A unmasked Wrestler B. This wrestler betrayed that wrestler. This particular tag team must break up forever if they lose even one of their upcoming matches, etc., etc., etc. If you tell a compelling story in your promos, people will turn up to see the match.
Number 3, clarify, clarify, clarify.
I'm of the opinion that you can't possibly do this enough. You have to clarify what your in-ring value is to the viewer as quickly as possible in the runtime of your promo. So if you know your DVP, your differentiating value proposition, say it and say it early. Mine is the master of 1,000 holds, because the in-ring value that I add isn't size or strength or high flying ability, it's my technical skill. So I say that early on, and whenever possible, don't just tell the audience, show them. That might mean that you're going to drop in a photo or a clip that confirms that value. Like, for example, if you happen to be the hardest hitter in Holland, when you say that, edit into your promo a clip of you hitting someone hard in the ring. When you clarify that value, it makes your promos that much more potent. Sidebar. Anytime I think about the meat of the messaging, things like getting across the interpersonal story, making sure that you put yourself over, you say your own value, I think of this. Remember that catchphrases are just garnish. They're never the entree itself. The meat of the message, it needs to be there. You can't substitute just that little piece of parsley on the side of the plate. It's just garnish. That's what your catchphrase is. And it's never an excuse to just skip over doing the work of a promotional message.
Number 4, promos promote you.
I want you to develop the good habit of saying your name in the opening of every promo that you cut, and then also including it a second time during your wrap-up. Now, ideally, you'll be saying it 3 times, but if you build the habit of saying it in your opening and including it in the way that you wrap up, you got 2 out of those 3 already done. And the pushback I often hear about this is, well, my followers already know my name. And you're probably right about that. But I bet the promotion hiring you for the match wants to circulate this promo as well. And those people need to discover you. And maybe someone who follows that promotion is going to share it to their account. Well, those people may not necessarily know you. The algorithm might choose to distribute your promo to new viewers who are just being introduced to you. Don't miss out on the chance to promote yourself to them through the promos that you cut.
Number 5, before the window closes.
If you want the work of cutting your promos to feature less anxiety, shoot them all well in advance, long before the window closes. You know what I mean by that? People already know what they're doing this upcoming weekend, so shooting your promo the night before a wrestling event is a waste of everyone's time. For example, later on today, I'm going to see the new Superman movie. You know how long ago I bought my tickets for that? 4 weeks ago I got my tickets. I didn't decide that this morning when I got out of bed. I didn't decide it last night because I only saw the trailer then. I made my mind up quite some time ago. And so do wrestling fans. So spare yourself that anxiety and the headaches it's going to cause the promotions that hire you. Send your promos in well in advance of the actual show date. I hope your brain is bubbling with new information, that you feel supercharged to tackle the task of cutting effective promotional messages. And if there's some new insight, some new information that you gleaned from this video, would you tell me what it was down below in the comments right now? I would love to hear from you. If you want to keep on learning, I've got another super tutorial here on the channel that's all about pro wrestling training. And if you click on the video that's appearing on screen right now, it will take you right to it. It's beside this roll call of all my awesome patrons who support the work of the channel over on Patreon.